Good evening, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Welcome back and nice to have you here. So, I'm still checking your emails. Some of them I attempted to respond. More is coming, which is a good sign. Thank you so much for taking the time to give, you know, the feedback on my videos, and thank you also for liking and sharing my videos. I appreciate that. So I came to share some news for today, some in reading, and as usual I have some video at the end. Thank you again. Welcome back. Here are the news and the Concerned Citizens Media comment for June 19, 2021. Oromo Liberation Front released a press statement on upcoming general election in Ethiopia. OLF statement said that this upcoming election is being conducted, especially in Oromia region, while Oromo political leaders and their supporters are in jail, their offices are shut down, and while Oromos are under intensive and life-threatening situations. The OLF statement further stated that this election is a failed election by global and domestic election standards. It will not be free and fair election. OLF statement advised all Oromos to boycott this general election by staying indoors on election day. So, the Oromo Liberation Front also warned Oromos from taking part in this undemocratic election, and participating in it is just like being an obstacle to Oromo's struggle for freedom and giving recognition for OPDO, or the Prosperity Party as it is known currently. Participating in this election is just taking part in the criminal conducts against your own people. OLF urges all Oromos to continue the resistance movement in all fronts until Oromos and their native land, Oromia, are free from authoritarian regime and the dictatorial rules. So that is a statement, a press statement released on upcoming election. So that's an advice, that's a warning, not to participate in this sham election. Not to give recognition for Abiy Ahmed, who desperately looking for that kind of recognition. Then to claim he got elected by Ethiopians. So, if it's possible, stay home, unless the authorities forced you through the gun. Stay home. Don't participate. To elect, OPDO, who have been engaged in a criminal conduct since the beginning of their formation for the last 27 years. Then after 2018. So these are criminals. These are they will not bring any peace and stability for that country or for Oromia region. So stay away from election and continue your resistance movement. So taking part is just like working against your own cause, or working with enemy against your own people. So stay away. I see some challenge on this one. Some activities in Jimma. They playing a homecoming game. It's a homecoming boy to celebrate Abiy Ahmed because he claimed he's from Jimma. So they fill the stadium with, I don't know, it's maybe pressure, maybe it's a love for him, but I don't think there is a love for him. Maybe some prosperity members, because the Jimma people, I think they know what's happening around Oromia and around Ethiopia. They know this prosperity party engage in killing, torturing, arresting the Oromo leaders. So I don't know what the Jimma people are thinking about that. I don't think they approve all this criminal conduct. Even the prosperity party arrested so many professors from Jimma University, and even dragged one guy, teenager buddy, in the streets of Jimma. So they I don't know, maybe they turn a blind eye, could be. You know, that's a tough situation. The Jimma people should answer. You know, I think they care about what's happening in Wallega, what's happening in the Guji zone and other Oromia regions. So the Oromos are one. Even though Abiy Ahmed is from Jimma, I know he tried to play that game with the Jimma people, but if it's not fair for other Oromos, don't play that game. Stay away from this election. Stay with your brothers in Wallega and other parts of Oromia region, and continue your resistance for fair and free election in the future until this authoritarian regime is removed. Okay. Insecurity in Oromia continues. Ethiopian government, 9 employees working on road construction and 1 lady from local resident were attacked and killed while returning from their job in Western Shoa, Oromia. Governor of Western Shoa province, Mr. Diripsa Kumam, blamed Onek Sheni for these killings. Oromo Liberation Front didn't deny or confirm this government accusation. The Ethiopian government insists on conducting election despite ethnic tension, expanded command posts, ongoing war in Tigray and Oromia region, and other several serious volatile situations in the country. Meanwhile, the Ethiopian government imposed restriction on transportation activities in the capital city Addis Ababa, and incoming and outgoing vehicles are prohibited on June 21st, 2021, which is the current general election date in Ethiopia. So restriction is imposed. I don't know why. Maybe they're scared of something. So that will make, you know, transporting voters to the polling station will make it difficult. So, but the restriction is imposed on election day. Maybe the government is scared of something or may have some warning. We don't know. But that is the restriction. Vehicles are not allowed to come in and go out of the capital city, and transportation in capital city also restricted. So we'll see what will be the election result. Clearly, Abiy is going to be the king maker because nobody is competing against him in Oromia. He may face some challenge in Finfinne or Addis Ababa and in Amara region between Aben and the prosperity Amara party representing in the prosperity party. So there is some challenge over there. Other than that, no big challenge. Prosperity party will be the majority, and others are still competing. Some parties, 4 or 5, competing in capital city. That's that is the challenge for prosperity party. Other than that, in Oromia, in a little bit in Amara region. Somalia is not participating. Benishangul is out, and the other parts. So I don't know if he call it election and claim victory. He will claim anyway. Ethiopia's leaders said they are going to wipe out Tigrayans. EU special envoy says. This was a controversial issue like these days. EU's special envoy, claim Ethiopian leaders, prosperity parties, claiming, he's claiming they told him in a secured meeting that they are want to wipe out Tigrayans. That was the claim. And Ethiopia denounced that. During closed-door talks in February, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the ministers said they were going to wipe out the Tigrayans for 100 years. According to a European Union Special Envoy, the Agence Press reports. Pekka Haavisto, Finland Foreign Minister and the Special EU Envoy, condemned the statement this week, warning that the claims from Ethiopian leaders looks like for us ethnic cleansing. The European Union Special Envoy urges actions against Ethiopia if this serious act is true and in planning to be realized in Ethiopia. Amara militia already expressed such ethnic cleansing desires against Tigrayans openly on social media in the past. You might already see this. Citing small number of Tigrayans, it's easy for Amaras to eliminate them. It was on social media. So this EU special envoy claimed that Ethiopian authorities told him, they are planning to eliminate Tigrayans from Earth. So this is a very serious violation, and it's a criminal act. But Ethiopia denies now. He didn't say who told him, with whom he discussed this. So he didn't mention, but he said they told him this. They want to eliminate Tigrayans from the earth. So that's a very serious one. Very serious, and he called on international community to act before this happens. Call to action. Credit Yahoo News. Our Justice Department, Missouri governor cannot void federal gun laws. This is between federal and the government. So the Justice Department is warning Missouri officials that the state cannot ignore federal law after the governor signed a bill last week that bans police from enforcing federal gun laws. Acting Assistant Attorney General Brian Boynton said the law threatens to disrupt the working relationship between federal and the local authorities. They said in the letter, noting that Missouri receives federal grants and technical assistance. The public safety of people of the United States and the citizens of Missouri is a paramount, Boynton wrote in the letter. 13 Republican states, including Missouri, have increasingly worked to loosen gun laws, including abandoning requirements that people get training and pass background checks to carry concealed handguns. So Associated Press. So there is a challenge in the United States, very hard to control gun and the crimes committed by using guns. So there is a challenge. So now the Republicans governors are pushing for something like challenging the police or other authorities not to enforce the federal law, because Biden is and with the Senate try to change some rules, some regulations to control the crime, but Republican states and some Republican senators, they push this anti-regulation, and the crime will, continues. Every day we hear, 10 people killed, 9 people killed, 2 killed here and there, because it's very hard to control. Plus, there are, freedom of getting armed also in the book. So there are the challenge, and I don't know, maybe in a long run, Americans will come to some kind of agreement to control those side criminal activities by illegal weapons and by legal weapons. So I hope they will come to it, but it takes time. We may lose lives until that happens. So this is a challenge between the federal government, Joe Biden, and states, and but it will not go far like between Ethiopia and Ethiopian central government and the Tigray region, which lead to war. But America takes time. They don't go to war. They don't rush to war. They may hold some grant or some other technical assistance from governors or some other means to pressure them or take the case to the Supreme Court. So there are so many other ways to handle this. It's not like Abiy rushing to eliminate the Tigrayans through the so-called law and order operation. That's a fake anyway. You cannot conduct law and order operation against 240,000 militia. That's a clear war, but he tried to play a game. He did it in the wrong way. He is exposed globally. He is isolated globally due to that, and I don't think he will survive. Okay. BBC for that credit. Sudan rules out force to stop Ethiopia's second filling of Renaissance Dam. This is, again, trade is coming from Sudan, trade is coming from Egypt, keep coming, training. So this is last Friday, the Sudan Foreign Minister, Miriam al-Sadiq al-Mahdi, ruled out using force to stop Ethiopia's second filling of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD. Sudan's media reported on Friday. The first filling of the dam was a stab in the back, she said, noting that it caused a massive shock to confidence between the two countries. The minister accused Ethiopia of using the issue of the dam to mobilize international and African public opinion against Sudan. That's a claim. Sudanese foreign minister claimed. Egypt and Sudan view the dam as a threat because of their dependency on the Nile waters, while Ethiopia considers it essential for its electrification and development. Both Egypt and Sudan insisted on reaching an abiding agreement that respects the three countries' interests, preventing unilateral measures related to the dam. So Egypt and Sudan, they want agreement, some kind of signed agreement, and they are pushing here and there, threatening Ethiopia. They are doing their best, military training, all kind of training, and pushing the case to United Nations, asking Europe to involve. Ethiopia say no, it should be resolved with an African nation. So there's a challenge, and the threat is still coming, and we just follow and report to you. Okay, the last reading part. Israelis ban on family reunification, the worst persecution against Palestinians, the Palestinian Authority said. The Palestinian Authority on Friday slammed the Israeli ban on family reunification as the worst persecution practiced by Israel against the Palestinians. In a statement issued by the Palestinian Authority Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates, the PA stated, "The law is clear proof that Israel is a state of apartheid, mainly because it separates members of Palestinian families from one another. Family reunification in Israel is a law enacted by the Israeli Knesset in 2002. It prevents Palestinian citizens in Israel from requesting citizenship for their spouse living in the West Bank, the Gaza Strips, or abroad." This is very tough. This is very tough. This law is a form of ethnic cleansing that the Israeli occupation has been practicing against the Palestinians for a long time, according to the Palestinian Authority. Credit Middle East Monitor. So this is a very ugly law from the country claims the most democratic country in the Middle East. Israel claims the most democratic country in the Middle East. So denying Palestinians to reunify with their spouse or relatives and creating a law, to prevent that reunification. This is a very inhumane and against international law, especially from the country, claiming the most democratic country in the Middle East. Plus, they are also enjoying, when it comes to family reunification between Israel and the United States. I know they enjoy it. I know they enjoy it. So how can you deny these people to enjoy the same kind of status, the same kind of freedom? I know you are bringing Jews from all over the world. So this is a very ugly law, and it should be condemned. Israel should reverse this law and preventing Arab Israeli citizens, from bringing their wives, husband, or family. So this is a very ugly law. It should be condemned by global community. Thank you. That's the reading part. Let's share some videos and conclude today's presentation. So the first one is UK ambassador statement on the Tigray. Let's see. There you go.
Good afternoon, and sorry to keep you waiting. We have just finished discussing the situation in Tigray, and I'd like to start by thanking Mark Lowcock of ORCHA and David Beasley of the World Food Programme for their briefings. I should say that the UK is confident in the reliability of the data that has been presented by the UN. It's clear that food, agricultural tools and livestock are being destroyed. And as a result, 350,000 people in Tigray are facing hunger on a scale not seen since the famine in Somalia. And many more, millions more, face food insecurity exacerbated by disrupted planting. The UK today has announced a further £16.7 million in aid for Ethiopia, which brings to a total of £47.7 million since the conflict began 8 months ago. We called today for council members to come together and to urge with one voice for an immediate ceasefire and access for humanitarian aid. As I said earlier today, without a ceasefire, this could become a man-made famine. It's not a drought or locusts that are causing this hunger, but the decisions of those in power. That means those in power could also end the suffering. We were told in March that Eritrean forces would be withdrawing. It's now June. There can be no further delay. Farmers have been unable to plant next year's crops due to the violence. The window for them to do so is about to close. And while the violence continues, it is not only condemning the people of Tigray to desperate hunger this year, but next year too. Millions of people's lives hang in the balance. The solution is clear: a ceasefire, humanitarian access, and political dialogue. Thank you.
Madam Ambassador, you just made an appeal for a ceasefire following an informal meeting of the Security Council. Can you tell us what exactly is preventing the Security Council from holding a formal meeting and issuing a similar statement?
I think we've made the UK's position on this very clear. We are disappointed, to be honest, that discussing this crisis continues in an informal setting and that members have not been able to agree
China and Russia
discussion in
as a
public.
challenge over here.
We would welcome a discussion that would look at support of African-led solutions and working with regional initiatives to bring this crisis to an end. On the specifics, you'd have to ask my colleagues about their individual positions. But we've had 5 informal dialogues now, as you know. Thank you.
Did the Ethiopian ambassador, can you give us any indication of what he expressed to the council and if there's any change in their position or any resistance, why the resistance moving forward? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so the Ethiopian ambassador joined us, and also the crisis commissioner, Commissioner Mitiku from Addis Ababa, both joined us and gave some facts and data about their view of the situation. I think we probably have to ask the Ethiopian ambassador for the details of his perspective, though. He didn't say anything that changed our mind that this is an impending crisis. We're deeply concerned about the famine situation, the violence, and the long-term implications for Ethiopia. Ethiopia recovered from a terrible famine in 1984, and the relative stability that it achieved since then, it would be a tragedy, I think, for that to dissipate without resolving this political crisis. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's UK statement on the Tigray region.
If you only list your vacation home on Airbnb, you might attract someone looking for a quaint little studio. Since 2015, Africa has seen a wave of mass protests, and most of them have ended in violent crackdowns.
In most cases, change comes through the power of the gun.
But Ethiopia was different. In 2018, years of largely peaceful pro-democracy protests actually ended up forcing the repressive government to hand over power. And for a while, it looked like Ethiopia was set to become Africa's big democracy success story. But fast forward several years, and Ethiopia is now at war with itself, and the new government is about to hold an election with key opposition figures in jail.
As a country, Ethiopia and other countries in Africa have not been able to manage conflict and dispute in a peaceful manner. I think at a symbolic level, it continues to create that sense of inability.
So what's going on in Ethiopia, and what does trouble there mean for the rest of Africa? his first 6 months in office, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was a champion of liberal democracy. He freed thousands of political prisoners, allowed opposition parties to operate, and won the Nobel Peace Prize for ending a long-standing war with Ethiopia's neighbor, Eritrea.
War is epitome of fail for all involved.
Most importantly, after decades of repressive rule, Abiy promised the first free and fair elections in the country's history.
I think Ethiopia is really a test case in this global contest between democracy and authoritarianism.
Democracy in Ethiopia could mark a major turning point for Africa, and that's because Ethiopia is huge. If the country were to hold free and fair elections, it would set 10% of Africa's entire population on the path to democracy. And at the moment, the only country in Africa that consistently meets the criteria for a full and free democracy is Mauritius. A democratic Ethiopia could transform one of Africa's most volatile neighborhoods.
The status of a country as a democracy or not is where you are located, right? So if your neighbors are democratic, you're very likely, it's a big predictor to be also democratic.
But in 2020, everything changed.
Yes.
An
My
icon of
child
the
in
protest
this,
movement was shot dead. His killing sparked fresh protests, and Abiy's government began cracking down.
Nobody expected that Ethiopia would make such a surprise move towards a very violent, a very militaristic way of trying to resolve those internal challenges and those internal problems.
Hundreds were killed, thousands arrested. The government shut down the country's internet, arrested opposition politicians, and silenced some opposition TV stations.
There was almost a black and white threat by the Prime Minister against the media. I'm running here myself.
Critics say Abiy's government has effectively removed its competition for votes in Ethiopia's largest state, Oromia, and the election will no longer be free and fair.
It's very clear what the outcome of this election would be. It would simply be a kind of ritual that would ultimately crown incumbent party and the incumbent prime minister.
A few months after jailing opposition leaders, the government then began a military offensive in Tigray. It wanted to remove the region's former ruling party from power after its fighters captured federal military bases. Eritrea, the same country that Abiy made a peace deal with, joined forces with the government. Thousands of refugees poured over the border into Sudan. There's an almost biblical level of destruction in Tigray. Farmers there were hit with locusts last year, and this year find themselves in the middle of a war. The UN warns the region is on the brink of a deadly famine.
If there is one country that is unstable in a region, it's almost always feeds into instability in the region.
Ethiopia has been key to UN peacekeeping efforts in places like South Sudan and Somalia. But now it is a major source of conflict in Africa, and the US has imposed sanctions on Ethiopia as a result. The conflict also means Tigrayans won't be able to vote in the election.
The United States government describing what happened in Tigray as ethnic cleansing. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch referring to the treatment of civilian population as constituting war crimes against humanity. The very possibility of Ethiopia emerging out of this as a united country is very much in doubt.
The conflict also threatens Ethiopia's reputation as one of Africa's economic success stories. The country has one of the fastest growing economies on the continent. But underneath that figure is a huge amount of debt, which has also been growing. In fact, according to Prime Minister Abiy, Ethiopia's debt to GDP ratio is one of the worst in Africa. To solve this, he wants to open up areas of the economy to foreign investment. But Ethiopia's volatility is making that hard. At the heart of Ethiopia's conflict is the sheer number of different ethnic groups that live there. It's one of the only two countries in Africa that were never colonized by This historical tension is playing out in Ethiopia's modern politics. After decades of oppression, many ethnic leaders want more freedom and autonomy, but Prime Minister Abiy wants a unified Ethiopia where ethnic and national identities don't cancel each other out.
The election is being planned at a time when there is simply no basic consensus on the future direction of the Ethiopian states.
As a result, ethnic violence has spiked since Abiy came to power.
The insecurity is already there. The tension is already there. But my sense is that the elections themselves are going to have very little impact in terms of changing the dynamics, which is already very volatile.
With only one leader with a national profile running, Burhanu Nega, victory for Prime Minister Abiy is looking likely. If he wins, what Prime Minister Abiy and his government do next is crucial to the survival of Ethiopia and peace in Africa.
Okay, that's just like a general review. I think I have one more video. Let me see. Okay, this is the last one.
I won't grow up. I won't grow up. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school. Just to learn to be a parrot. Just to learn to be
So there's an advertisement. Apologies. There we go.
A treasure hunt like no other, celebrating the discovery of unidentified stones that thousands of people here believe are worth a fortune.
I hadn't seen or touched a diamond in my life. This is the first time touching it here. I hope this will make a difference at home because we're really struggling, so I hope things will be better.
Armed with pickets, shovels, buckets and a great deal of determination, entire families have travelled from across South Africa to the small village of Kwaghlati to find their share of what look like cloudy stones. The search began last weekend when a herdsman made the first discovery, a large crystal-like stone. That sparked what has been dubbed the Diamond Rush, with thousands of people joining in the hope of securing a better future.
This means our lives will change because no one had a proper job. I do odd jobs. When I returned home with them, the family was really overjoyed.
Some of those digging are already selling their finds, hoping to make quick money with a starting price of $14.
This will really help the community. We hope crime will come to an end, especially crimes against women, because the youth do all these things because of unemployment.
South Africa's economy has suffered for a long time, with millions of people living in poverty and unemployment rising to a record high of more than 32% this year, and crime rates are soaring. With the highest rate of COVID-19
Everyone is
infections in
digging
Africa,
to
the
get
government
that
fears
diamond.
the rush of more than 1,000 people could help spread the virus. It's asked them to leave the area and has sent a team of geologists to find out if the stones they're all clamouring for really are precious diamonds. Sarah Khairat, Al Jazeera.
All right. Thank you, Al Jazeera, for that reporting. Okay, that's the last one. And I don't know how the government allow all these people to come from all area of South Africa and they dig to get rich, or try to get just a little part of that piece or diamond. Yeah, if it's true, the government, mine it, maybe share the wealth, but they allow all residents to come over, dig, and get something out of. Good luck, but it seems it's very challenging task. And the UK ambassador, the other one is a review. Dr. Awol, and the discussion on that area is a review from the challenge, the transition time, the election, history of Ethiopia. That's as a review. And the one, UK government ambassador repeat the call made by the United States, European Union. Ceasefire, dialogue among all stakeholders, and access to humanitarian aids. These things keep coming from different angles. Europeans, Americans, and UK, and Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and even the African Union. You know, there is a challenge in Tigray region created by Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki, plus the Amara Special Militia. There is a challenge created on the Tigrayan people: hunger, famine. Ethiopia is keep denying. You know, say it's normal. We are handling 70%. We are giving 70% of, you know, aid. But if you give 70%, that means it's only 30%. Why is this big number? 350,000 people are, you know, possibly subjected to famine. And, you know, the worst famine, they say, since the Somalia. And why you don't end this war? You know, the war is still going on, heavy fighting. Even though the government deny in one hand, you know, the challenge with the Ethiopian government is lie. They are not trustworthy. I repeated this. They lie to the global community. They say Eritreans start withdrawal from Tigray region. Now nothing happened. Even the ambassador said in March, that was reported. Now we are in June. Eritreans are in Tigray region. They are in Oromia region. They are expanding. And the call for ceasefire got a deaf ear in Ethiopia. And all, you know, the reports about this hunger, famine, and you know, limited access, humanitarian access, all this is denied. Ethiopia is denying. Ethiopia is lying. So I don't know. I think Ethiopia and Eritrea, they are looking for more force, more pressure. Visa restriction or economic restriction, it might not work. They're looking for military intervention. That's what I can understand, because dialogue, discussion, warning, sanctions didn't work. These people are still lying. These people are still denying. These people are still waging heavy war in Tigray region and in Oromia region. They don't listen. They, you know, the global community advised them, and the Ethiopians advised Abiy Ahmed as a prosperity party to have dialogue and reconciliation. But he's still refusing and thinking that this election will give him a blessing, and he will be a king in that country, and nobody touch him. There will be peace and stability, prosperity, according to his dream. But the reality is none. No prosperity, no peace, no stability. None. So that's the challenge. And China and Russia should join the United States and the European Union in dealing with these people. I know these people, you know, these countries, I mean, China and Russia have their own issue with the United States. They are also under sanctions. So, you know, they don't want to give a positive feedback, or they don't want to vote with the United States because they are also under sanctions. So the United States should find out a way to deal with these people, with Russia and Chinese ambassadors, plus a little bit from India. I don't know why. So India also on the side of Ethiopia. So human life is at a grave danger. So these people should understand, even though they have their own self-interest, they should join, you know, the call for ceasefire the call to end hunger in the Tigray region, the call for dialogue and reconciliation in Ethiopia. That will create a peaceful country that can serve its own interest and the global interest. So that will be my conclusion, and the United Nations should come to an agreement to to deal with Isaias Afwerki and Abiy Ahmed. These people are very tough to deal with. They are determined to stay in power, to fight to the end at all costs, and they are galvanizing the people to fight unnecessary war with the world, claiming Ethiopia never been colonized. Yes, that is true. Okay, nothing to do with the situation now. The global community told you to stop the war, ceasefire, dialogue, reconciliation with your own people. So Ethiopia is going around, pushing Ethiopians to fight back through demonstration back home in Addis Ababa and on the global stage. That is not the solution for that country. Let the election over. Let's have a dialogue discussion about the future of that country. Let's listen to the global community. They are not invading Ethiopia. They are not interested to invade Ethiopia, or they are not interested to tell you what to eat for breakfast or dinner or lunch for that matter. This is government propaganda. Prosperity Party created all this to galvanize people. So that is the end. Thank you again for taking the time to listen to me, share and comment, like my videos, and I will be back with other news, and I hope everyone will be safe and well. I will be back with other news and comment. So long, everyone.